All right, so we are back with another part. I'm losing count, but it'll be right here. The number will be right here. So since we left off on this, let me point something out that I was rushing on. If you decide to take your point, you have your point, vanishing point here, so everything is going to be good. But if you move your vanishing point over and you tilt your box or whatever over, it's not going to be perfectly square because you're running into doing another vanishing point. Example, my little square here. If this is a perfect square this way, if I tilt it out this way, this also tilts in that way. So let's show you from the front, from the top, like that. Okay, that's perfect square. This will be going back in perspective. These two lines will be going back into perspective. The top going back is going to have to go a long way before the point reaches. But if I tilt it, notice how this line that is straight across is pointing in that direction. Okay, so now I run the risk of doing 2-point perspective. So it will never be flat like this. It was going to be more, depending on how far out you move it away from the point, it's going to be more. If I do this, how did I have it? Okay, if I'm seeing the top, so let's do this. Let's see the top. And it's going in perspective. This is not going to be square flat. It has to go back a little bit. It has to go back to make sense because this is coming this way. It's not going to drop and be flat like this. It's just an off box. So yeah, so just be mindful of that. If it's like this, you can get away with it because, as I say, if I take this and I turn it just a little bit, it's going to take a lot before you actually see that it's going to go back in perspective. But if I move it way over here somewhere, way over, and I tilt it, you see how easy it is for you to say, oh, that's going back in perspective. Whereas if I bring it over here, it's less. You see less of a tilt versus going way over here, you see more of a tilt. All right, so just keep that in mind. So since we are doing this kind of perspective, let me do a figure. I want to do a figure, which I did this on TikTok maybe 2 videos ago, and one of your fellow students, Devil the Artist, commented and said you have to practice that a long time before you get it right, or you have to continue to practice that before you get it right. And he was so true with that, because a lot of times I can't get it right the first time. I have to continue to practice. And this is turning your figure. Where's my glasses? This is turning your figure so you won't keep drawing your figure, straight up and down all the time, or straight in front of you all the time. Maybe you want to do your overhead shot, or a bird's eye view or worm's eye view of the figure. So basically you're doing the same thing. You're using that V, the letter V. Now it also depends on where you want to put if you want to put your figure in the center, if you want to put your figure more up here, and like this will be your bottom where the feet are going to go. You want your feet down here. It all depends on how you want to do it. So let me show you with a center on the center one first. You have your center line, which is going to be not really center. And you have, let's just put like two lines each. So what I want to do, extend this a little bit, because you don't want to put the figure way out here. You want to kind of get them somewhere nice area. Most times what I do is I'll do the shoulder. I put the shoulder on the line. Some people put the head on it. I'll put the shoulder on the line because the shoulder is going to go that way. So then I will do this. I'll do my body first. My line. And of course he's not going to be straight on again, because this, you can't do the straight on unless you're center line and then you have your other ones going this way. Then he could be straight on. So do this. And then the legs are going to probably go off. I don't want the legs to go off, but they're probably going to go off. I just might make them short. Okay, so you have your body, you have your torso, you have your waist, and then you have your hips, right? Okay, so notice how they're on these lines. So this line, let's just say this is my thigh, is going to go down to this line right here. The other thigh has got to go down to on that same line. It's going to be shorter. Everything is going to fall on these lines or you're not going to get it right. So I put my knee here, my knee here. So I'm going to have to do another line for my knee. This is what I'm saying. You can have a million lines. The more lines, the more perfect you're going to become. But the more lines you're going to have in your way, you're going to have to erase it. So put my knee here on that line. So I'll do this. I'll do that. And I'm going to bring this down just a little bit more. So move that knee over to the side a little bit. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And the same thing is going to have to fall on that line. Everything's going to stop on that line. I fall on the stop on it. And then I'll do my head here. I'll do my neck. So I'm going to do my V right here. My head is going to be here. So let's just say he's going to be looking at over this way. So here's my foot. I put my foot here. And I put my other foot here. That toe is the same thing. That toe has got to go to there. It's going to be right. It's going to fall right. Now, because you're below the line, everything is going to be rounded off like this. You're going to see the bottom of these cylinders. Now, as you go up, you're going to see the top of these cylinders. Or you're going to see the cylinders. You're going to see the bottom of everything. So if I put this here, this is where my chest is going to curve. This is where my delt is going to be. Same thing. My other delt is going to be here. My arm is going to be here. And this only applies when the person is uniform. It's like the legs and the arms are, just standing uniform. So this part comes down to almost to the belly button. Your elbow comes down to your belly button pretty much, depending on if it's out, you can't see it, if it's out or straight down. And then we're going to have this here. So what I will draw one side, the proportion of what I need according to the body. Then I will find the lines that it's falling on. If it's not falling on a line, then I'll make my own line. Going back to that point, this one going back to that point. Let me use a blue. So this one is pretty much here. This one's pretty much here. It's probably off a little bit because I'm not using a ruler. So then I will have to draw this bicep coming down to here, to this line. And I would have to draw, you have to shrink it. I mean, it's not going to be as wide because it's, it's going back in perspective. The wrist is going to stop right here, and the fist, if I do a line for the fist is going to stop right there. And then that way you will get it right. And then from there, you round it off. You round off your pieces that you may need. Because your collarbone comes here. But it's like you do one side, and then you have to line up the other side with the lines that they are falling on, or put them on a line that they're falling on. So I think this might be 4 or 5 or 6 video. And if the last video you heard a sound in the background, that was my fan. I had my fan on because it's hot in my room. And if you hear it, I didn't know I had it on until I cut it off to do this video. If you don't hear it, then I didn't have it on. I'm not sure. So yeah, as I said, I'm not sure. So that's how you would end up doing a person in perspective like this. Remember, wherever your point is, it's good to have your point as far on your paper as you can, or if you can, take your point off. If you're doing something like that, tape your paper down, draw your line to that point, and then draw your lines, because you don't want your person too cramped up. Like if I put him like in here, he'd be cramped up and you couldn't really see. But I mean, if I had to draw soldiers or androids on the assembly lines, this is how I would have to do it. I still have to use the lines, but if you do them too much, they'll be cramped up and you'll lose it. So yeah. I'm just drawing this quick, and I'm not using the lines. I'm just saying, if I'm drawing androids on the assembly lines, they would all fall on the same thing: the knees, your ankles. the foot coming down here, your delt, your arm, the other arm, part of the arm, other arm, the hand. And if I did another one, and then you can draw whatever your assembly belt that they are on. And the rails, you know, that they come down on and whatever, you know, okay? So it's just, that's how you would end up doing a character in perspective. And if you go the other way, it would be the same way. So you have your point here and you're going this way. Have your center line, and it would be the same thing. If you want over and under, if you want your center line to come straight through the center. If you don't want your line to come through the center, so let's just say here is my point, here is my lines, here is my center line here, and here are my other lines. I'm gonna call them grid lines, I guess. Let's take this down a little bit more because I'm gonna have this guy below. So, which means I'm gonna end up doing more of a 2-point, and it's gonna be, you're gonna be seeing down on him. So this is the center line. So I'm going to do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna draw the torso. And I'm stuck. And here, and so I'm going to do my body first. So because we're down, I'm going to see the top of this person's shoulder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. So draw it first, and then you'll know where to put your other parts of the body. So because I'm doing this V, you know I'm looking down on it. I'm looking down on this character. So right here, and here's this. Here is the body, here is the waist, and then here is the legs. Now, the more you look down on something, remember, the more you look down on it, the shorter it's going to be. So you have to shorten up everything. So like I said, I'll draw one side first, not trying to make it as long as it's supposed to be, make it a little shorter. And of course, again, if you're putting something on top of something, if this is this, like this, and you put it on top of something, you're gonna lose out on seeing the part that this part covers. Same thing with the body, and we'll get into that probably maybe in this video, maybe in the next video. So we have that, and we have my leg like that. Okay, so now I have this half. I'm gonna do this delt. Remember, we are looking down on it, so I'm gonna do this, which comes around about the elbow. The elbow comes around about the belly button somewhere. And then this comes down to the crotch. Wrist comes down to the crotch if it's straight down. All right, so now I've got one half of the guy. And you're looking down on it because you see all of this. So even when I put the head, I'm not gonna put the eyes way up here. I'm gonna put the eyes down a little lower. And the nose down here and the mouth down there. Here's my neck. I'll probably bring that head down a little bit more as well. Because you want to see more of the top of his head. Because you are looking down at the character. So again, here's my fist, here's my this, and here's my delt. Let's make this a little more clearer. Where's my other red pencil that I believe I sharpened? If not, sharpen that one again. All right, so we have this line here. It was going to be the delt right here. It's a little below that. This is going to be here. And then my hand, remember you got to keep it right. Now keep it right. And the same thing for the leg. The leg. And when I first started doing it, I was like, it's wrong. This is too short. It's too short. But it's right. I know it's right. Once you look at it, it's right. And then the knee. And then this comes to there. And the foot, because this foot is turned out, I'm going to just put this foot out here. This foot should be more like this. And then you have your toe going there. So that's more looking down at the person. I mean, I can look even more down at them. You just have to turn it down a little bit more. So here's my oval. I'm going to get a bigger V. The head is going to go deeper down into the shoulders. You're not going to see as much waist. You're not going to see as much hip. You're not going to see as much leg. The knee is going to be behind there. This is going to come up into this. And then you're going to see your feet. Center line. My delt is going to be here. Delt is going to be here. You're going to see the back of that delt. And then, of course, again, you're not going to see the belly, a lot of the arm, unless the arm is up, knowing that it stops at that crotch. Same thing here. I would adjust this delt. So that way, it's just that you're looking more down on the character, or your character. So if I wanted to go up, which is more the harder part, you were going to do the same thing, except, I tend to, let's do it this way then. Since everything's going this way, let's just keep it that way. Like that. So you have this ball. It's going to be kind of hard because the camera's above. Just turn your eyes upside down, and you're going to have this coming up from the bottom of it. So you're gonna cover up a lot of that ball, so this piece would fit up under it. So that's going to be the same thing with this. You're going to draw your torso, knowing that instead of the center of your chest, the line of the chest is going to be in the center, and here's the stomach. You're going to bring that up a little bit more, and it's going to be up a little bit more. Your waist is going to go around. Since this is around, your waist is going to go here. Waist is going to go here, and then the crotch is going to fit under there as well. It's going to go up. So if I'm doing something like that, I'll do this to represent that hole where that leg goes. So I'm going to do this. This is actually going to kind of go back a little bit more. Then you can do your legs. The other one, and it's if you're close to it, where did my thing go? If you're close to it, it's going to seem bigger than if you're, where is it? Further away. You see this is narrower than this. This part is narrower than that. But if you're close to it, it almost looks like it is more wider than the back. Almost. So that's the hard part to do. But when you're looking up at somebody and then down, you usually don't see the feet, because unless the person is standing on glass. So all of this has to go like this. You're doing a cylinder. You're doing the cylinder like that. I'm going to bring this down some more. You're doing a cylinder, the circle, and you're doing a cylinder. Same thing. You're doing this ball. This is going to be covered up by that cylinder. And that cylinder. And as I say, you're going to make it kind of a little bigger. And then your hand, same thing here. And you're going to use your guidelines. Again, I didn't use the guidelines because I'm trying to kind of break this down to make it a little easier. You're going to have to do, if you're doing an upshot of the whole thing. Cylinder. And then leave that opening so you can understand. And then that cylinder here. And then there's your hand and your head. Same thing. You're going to, unless he's looking down, you're going to kind of see under that chin. And you won't really see that shoulder. So if I inked it as best I could, it would look more like this. You would see you would be seeing underneath that crotch. As I said, unless he was like standing on something above, you would not see that foot, or unless he was standing on some glass. You stand on the edge of a building or something like that. Look like something like that, and your mouth would be here, your nose would be here, your eyes would be right there. Let's bring that in. And it would look like that, unless you're drawing somebody naked, you would put a belt on them. Remember, you're seeing underneath of the cylinder. They're all basically kind of cylinders, and you have this circle stacked on top of that, and you have your crotch here. And you're seeing underneath that. So that belt here, you'd have the boots here. If you're doing boots, you'd have like wristbands here or gloves here. You know, even the symbol would be, you know, more of an upshot. And yeah, that's basically it. Straps, gun or whatever he carries. You know, straps here. I think Jim Lee started all the strap belt stuff when he did the X-Men. He gave everybody straps and belts and stuff, which looks kind of cool, but you know. You're going to be doing this all the time. You're looking up underneath that hockey puck, we'll call it. So, what is that? 22 minutes. I say I'm going to keep these 30 minutes. So now you have your what is the word? Your basis for doing your down shot above somebody and your upshot below somebody. But again, I was just trying to show you this. But if you do that, you still have to do the cylinders, or you still have to follow the guidelines for all of this. And I use my shoulder, as I said. I don't do the head. I use my shoulder. The head is not going anywhere. That's why I tend to draw my head last. I'll do, like I said, I'll do this first. The head only takes about that much room, and then I'll get the rest of my body, because when I get to my head, that determines how I want the body. I've got the body turned. When I get to the head, automatically I see which is the best position for that head, especially if I'm just drawing a position. You know, I'll either have it this way, like he's looking this way, or this one I can have him looking, you know, straight on at you, or curved down. And depending on the body position, that's how I determine how my head is going to go. So I'm trying to think of what else while I'm at this position. As I said before, this is not scripted. It's just coming out as I come out. This is why I jump back and forth. I'm not trying to, you know, this lesson. I wanted to come out naturally, because one thing might lead to another thing, and then I'll say, oh, okay, that's going to work with this particular lesson, and that's going to work with this. So this is why I am just throwing it out there as I can throw it out there. 24 minutes, give or take. I can't think of anything else that's going to go with this. Gradually, I'm going to get into more of doing the body, and then break the body down. Each part, the arms down, the face down, the neck down, do different positions. What would it look like if the person, you know, turned his arm, you know, in front of him? Why is it being covered up? The whole 9 yards. I basically want to teach you guys how to draw without having to look at something to learn how to draw. And that's the goal of any artist, is to be able to do on their own without having to use reference. So that being said, I'm going to end this video right here and figure out what the next part is going to be. All right, back in a minute.